Okay, hello. It's me, and I'm here to show some of you guys that weren't here for the demonstration or weren't in class for the demonstration back before we left school for spring break. So this is the basis for how you will make the slab project or the cups and tray project, which you'll see more images of cups and trays and stuff online once I figure out how to do that. Hopefully by tomorrow morning. So yeah, tomorrow is Wednesday, so you'll have a chance to look at this then. And I don't know, here we are doing this new thing online. So you're in my studio now, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, so the first thing is we need clay. We got clay. Clay is hard to get. I mean, you guys all know it now. Like, we're just going to try and be patient. You know, like you can get clay from Fred, that's Amherst Potter Supply, or you can get red clay from Sheffield Potter Supply. They're both, you know, going to be in the ballpark for the same price kind of thing. You can get it at Blick, but that has you indoors and stuff, and that's not great. I'm not sure if they're doing curbside yet, but the most reasonably priced one is going to be Fred, though he is having to charge shipping for that. So you have to kind of figure out which one of those is best for you, and you know, try and stay out of public and wash your hands a lot, right? Okay, so here we are. We need about, you know, somewhere in this department amount of clay to make the exercises, and you'll be able to reuse this clay, so don't worry about that. Gypsy. That's my dog down there. Okay, so here we are. We've got about that much clay, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get it wedged up. So just kind of like kneading bread dough, except instead of putting air in, you're taking air out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start hitting it on the four sides, and then the other two. And make it into a box. Okay, I'm going to move my tools so they don't make so much noise. Okay, so here we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drop it on one side and flip it over and drop it on the exact opposite side. And we're going to do that until it looks like a big piece of toast. Texas toast. So I should say that you probably don't want to do this on your mom's nice dining room table or anything like that. You can do this on concrete driveway or concrete, you know, sidewalks or anything like that. Okay, so you see how it's kind of thick like this now, right? So now what I'm going to start doing is I'm always going to start over here on my right, and I'm going to pick it up with my fingers underneath it, and then I'm going to drop it toward myself. So how I drop it toward myself, I'm allowing the bottom part to hit first. And so it gets some grip on the table, but there's still momentum, and that makes it stretch out longer, right? So each time I pick it up, I'm dropping it toward myself. It's getting wider and flatter. Okay, so we get that kind of thing kind of slapped out, and if you're having troubles with irregularities on it, you can use a rolling pin to change that. If you're at home and you use a nice rolling pin at the house, you will make it so you can't use it with food anymore, because the water from the clay will go into this and it'll be contaminated forever. What we're kind of recommended is that you take, throw a piece of cloth on top of it and then use a can of soda, you know, and roll it down flat, or canned good or whatever. Something really hard that you can push it down. You could also wrap something up in a little bit of fabric to do that. You know, like a piece of an old t-shirt or something. And what you're looking for is thick spots. All right. So any place there's a thick spot, you kind of run that down, and then eventually you have a nice big slab there, right? I'm going to drop it one more time, just coming toward me. Okay. So here we go. There's going to be 3 objects that you make. And the first one is a box. Let me pause for a minute and get a ruler. Okay, so stuff you could use is a ruler, a fork for scratching, a needle tool for cutting pieces out. You could use like a paring knife for that. Like, you don't have to use a fork to scratch. You can just use like a skewer or anything pointy. This thing here, you guys know the wide loop tool, but you don't really need that. You could just use a knife to run edges. So it's all pretty simple, just stuff you can find around the house kind of a deal. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make this into sort of a nicer piece. So I'm going to take and cut off this sort of big toe here and put it to the side. Remember, the scraps are good. Stick them back in the bag as you go, and they'll stay a little bit wet, so there's not, so you can just go back to using them right later on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to measure out a thing here. It's 12 inches, right? And we're going to measure it at 3, 6, 9. We're going to measure upward from it. Let me double check my 12-inch spot right there, right? We're going to go upward, or away from me, 4 inches. Okay, and we're going to go up 4 inches. Then we're going to cross the top. And then we're going to do the same thing we did at the top at the bottom, or the bottom at the top. We're going to say 3, 6, 9, right? And now what we'll do is we'll take and cut these things out. So they look like little square bronies or something, you know? Okay, so we'll separate these guys. We'll leave these 2 extra fellows off to the side. I'm going to take this piece, and it gets crumpled up, goes back in the bag, right? Okay, so I've got these 2 pieces of clay, and what we're going to do is we're going to put them together, and we'll do that by creating a bevel, right? So the tool goes on the table, and I pull it toward myself. If you're using a knife, you can use kind of the flat side, I guess, of anything metal, and just kind of pull it across like that to get a bevel going. Cut off extra on the ends because it'll force some clay out of the way, right? So either way, it's totally fine. And then we get in there and we scratch. So, as usual, when we scratch, we hit it with a little bit of water. I'm going to take and put these 2 edges together. They're beveled to match each other. And I'm just kind of forcing the clay together to make the joint there. Now, you don't really need a coil on the outside, but what we can do is you can put a coil on the inside and clean the outside up a little bit, you know? So, you guys all have some experience with clay now. So you know that when the clay's right out of the bag like this, it's okay to blend stuff together, but if it's dried out even a little bit, then we have to take and scratch and attach. So I would scratch here if it were a little drier, but it's not because it's right out of the bag. So here we are, we're just rolling up a teeny tiny coil, and I'm looking for a moisture spot on the table, but I don't really have one, so I'm going to make one spot like that. And get it up right on there. And half gets blended up and half gets blended down. A little bit of smoothing and you're pretty good to go. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to make is a four-sided box like this. And again, we started off with the dimensions of 12 by 4 by cells of 3 all the way across. So 3, 6, 9, and then 12 is the last one. Okay? So four-sided box like that. That's the first thing you're going to make. Next thing you're going to make, I'm going to pull this up toward me. Next thing you're going to make is also going to have those same kind of dimensions there. So I'm going to take and strip the side off this so I have a little nicer edge to work with. Again, clay back in the bag. So we'll line her up again. And this is the end. And then it's 3, 6, 9. And I'm measuring 4 inches up or away from me. 4 inches up the side. And then we'll connect those up on top. I'm just going to free this little piece, put it to the side, again in the bag. Right? Okay, so then what we're going to do, we're going to be making this into a four-sided pyramid. And we're going to divide the cells up the same way we did, but we're not going to cut them. Right? So also 3, 6, 9, 12. So what we're going to do though is we're going to eyeball the tops of each one of these cells, right? So like that's about the middle between here and here, right? About the middle there, about the middle there, and about the middle there. And then what we'll do is we'll go from the corner up to the middle, and the middle back down to the corner. Corner to middle, middle to corner, corner to middle, middle to corner, and you'll end up with some extras, but that's okay. You can pick out the best ones. Okay. Right, back in the bag with those guys. Okay, so then what we've got is these guys here. Same kind of thing. We're going to bevel the edges again, right? So with this tool, I can take and kind of pull it across and get kind of a bevel going, you know, or just any kind of flat, hard shape. Like I said, you can pull it across and make that bevel just the same, right? So like a steak knife or just anything that's like a metal kind of an edge. Credit cards are pretty good, like old expired credit cards or I don't know, membership cards and stuff like that. And you can shape them. You know, if you wanted to, you could make one kind of shaped like the regular rib tool. You know, only it'd be a little bit smaller. Okay, so yeah, we're taking and we're making bevels on these guys. And then we're doing the same thing. We're scratching, attaching. So we get in here and we tear it up. This other side, and this will be a four-sided pyramid. So I will need to see a picture of your four-sided box and four-sided pyramid, and I'll just believe that you put the coils on the inside, because you do need to put the coils on the inside along with a little bit of water, at least on one side, so that we bring them together. They want to stick together better. we can zip up the outside, make it a little bit nicer. Okay. And then put it down on its side, and then grab some of the little clay that I made the bevels come off of there, you know, carved off for the bevels. I want that little wet spot again there. And then throw a coil on there. And then blend in half of it downward and half of it upward, just like we did with the other one. Coils are a different kind of thinking. They're more like you are planning, right? You're planning for the shapes that you need, and you're sort of imagining it a little more two-dimensionally flat, and how you're going to have to make shapes to make the thing that you want to make three-dimensionally. Get them blended, get them smoothed a little bit inside there. Okay, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So 4-sided pyramid. Okay, so that's the second thing you're going to make. The third thing you're going to make, you got to do all these exercises because everybody else did, right? And it'll help you later on when you're coming up with ideas for your cups and tray. Okay, so now we're going to grab this thing, pull it toward me again. I'm going to take and just like cut a chunk off here on this guy here. And I don't really have to measure. The last thing you're going to make is a cylinder. Back in bag, back in bag. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chunk of the cylinder and cut it off and put it to the side here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel 2 corners on this thing. Right, so I'm going to bevel that corner there. I'm going to flip it over and bevel the absolute opposite corner that we were talking about a minute ago. And then we take and we scratch. Both ends. And then we're going to drop a little bit of water on it. And then we kind of walk the ends toward each other. And then those ends kind of overlap each other pretty nicely. So you can flip it over to get the bottom side there. And like the outside corners, you can also take and smooth this together. Okay? It's pretty easy, but one thing I do want you to do, you can see there's the joint in there. You want to get that blended across, but it'll also help if you put a little tiny coil on the inside top part of that. It'll just behave a little bit better. Okay, flip it over and do the same thing. Okay. All right, so now this piece we saved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the corner there. So when you're working with the coils for your project, you want to keep in mind that you don't like have like a big nice slab, you know, like something like that. Just like, okay, I'm going to take that out of the middle. If you took it out of here or over here instead, you'd still have a whole bunch of real estate you could still use. But it's fun to slap out more slabs. But I just mentioned that for a little bit of conservation because I know that you guys aren't going to be able to get a ton of clay. It's really a pain for everybody. I'm really sorry it worked out this way, but I guess this is what we got to do. Okay, so here we are. I'm cutting this thing off pretty close to straight. I'm following around the outside all the way around. Right? And I've got this piece that I'm going to scratch. And then we remember it's the other side. So we got to get over here and scratch this. Right, so we're going all the way around. And we got to dab a little water on it. I think I don't have the right lettering to see, for you to see every little part of this, but you get the idea. We've all done this now. Okay, so we get that little guy on there. And we take and flip it over, and we can kind of tap it down a little bit to like squeeze the little bit of air that's in there out. Right? Okay, and then I'm going to take and just blend a little bit of it upward. And it'll look like the end of a stump a little bit. That's okay. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to take and roll it as if it were a coil on the end where it's a little squidgy. Okay. And then we have a cylinder with a bottom. Okay, so what I need from you guys is a four-sided box with no bottom and no top, and a four-sided pyramid with no bottom, and then a cylinder with only a bottom. Okay, so that's the exercise that I need you to do. So the project is going to be making 3 or more cups and a holder for them, like a tray for them, and they have to be unified aesthetically. Like, they can be unified by color, they can be unified by shapes or texture, or where the texture is, or where the color is. They can be unified by the lines on them, you know. So that's going to be the project, and that is going to be the project through the rest of the year. We are dropping the last project for the semester, so all I can give you is time. You don't even get the studio right now, you know. You got to make a mess at your house. So all I can do is give you is time. So come up with good ideas, and I'll be looking for 3 of those good ideas on Monday morning. So you can just email those to me. That's pretty simple. We're going to be setting up different parts of Blackboard to talk about these things later on, but for now we can pretty much rely on the email thing. And I just need to keep seeing, you know, that you're making headway and progress on the project. So it's a good amount of time to make a really good project. You know, this is small, compact. You don't need a lot of room. You don't need a ton of clay for it. So you have the opportunity to put more hours in and make something really good. And I know all you guys' lives are pretty complicated right now for lots of reasons. But I think we can manage that and finish out the year as strong as we can. Okay. Thank you.